you have 10 different classes creating the exact same object, bloating your memory and causing everything to break? Hi there! Today we are breaking down the singleton. But first, a design pattern isn't ready-made code. It's a proven architectural blueprint that you adapt to fit your specific project. The singleton is the simplest, yet most controversial pattern out there. Let's look at how to implement it the right way in PHP. The most obvious way is to just create a new instance of a class whenever you need it. Need a database in your repository? Write new. Need a logger in your controller? Use new again. You know how it usually goes with juniors, right? They think, I'm just creating an object, what could possibly go wrong? So go even further and dump the object into the globals array, turning the whole codebase into a minefield. Actually, tell me in the comments if you are still dealing with globals in legacy systems. We should probably pray for those projects together. But the biggest problem isn't even the memory. It's the unpredictability. If objects are created haphazardly across the system, you lose control over their internal state. On top of that, this approach leads to tight coupling. Your code becomes hardwired to a specific class inside your methods. As a result, unit testing turns into a complete nightmare because you can't swap the real database for a mock. You are quite literally locked inside your own code. And here's the twist. Singleton solves some of these problems, but it can introduce new ones if misused. To fix this chaos, we use a singleton pattern. Its goal is simple. Ensure a class has only one instance throughout the entire application and provides a global access point to it. And that's exactly why it's so tempting and so dangerous. Think of it like a government hotline. No matter how many people call, they all reach the same central office instead of creating a new ministry for every person. Let's look under the hood. To make a singleton bulletproof, we need to follow 3 strict rules. First, encapsulated creation. By making the constructor private, we strip the outside world of the power to initiate the class. Now the class itself is the only one who decides when it's born. Second, single source of truth. We store the instance in a static property. Think of it as an internal cache. No matter who asks for it, they get reference to the exact same spot in memory. Change a setting once, and it's updated everywhere. Third, the Iron Curtain. An experienced developer knows that closing the constructor isn't enough. You have to lock the backdoors by disabling magic methods like clone and guarding against unserialization. We are basically building a fortress around our object. Now let's look at the code. In PHP 8.4, we want our singleton to be bulletproof. We need to lock 3 main doors: instantiation, cloning, and unserialization. First, we use a final class to prevent inheritance. Then we declare a private static property to hold our instance. The magic happens here. The private constructor ensures nobody can call new and by overriding clone and guarding against unserialization. We make sure no one can sneakily create a second copy of our object. In older PHP versions, you'd often see wakeup method used here. But in modern PHP, it's better to guard against unserialization via unserialize. which gives you more control and avoids some of the pitfalls of the older approach. Finally, the getInstant method acts as our gatekeeper. It checks if the instance exists. If not, it creates it. Simple, clean, and safe. As you can see, no matter how many times we call getInstance, we are always working with the exact same spot in memory. The duplication problem is solved. In real-world projects using Symfony or Laravel, you probably won't write in private constructors every day. Why? Because modern frameworks handle this for you through the dependency injection container. When you register a service, it's usually shared by default. This is a singleton concept in action. The container creates object, like a mailer or database connection, only once, and then hands out the same reference every time it's requested. But here is a pro tip. In the era of RoadRunner or FrankenPHP, where PHP processes stay alive between requests, your singleton becomes immortal. In this is where things get dangerous. In fact, singleton is basically a global state in disguise. And global state is one of the hardest things to reason about. If you accidentally store user-specific data inside it, the data doesn't just live for one request anymore. It can leak into the next one. Congratulations! You've just created a shared state between users. That's why experienced developers treat singletons with extreme care. They are powerful, but in long-running environments, one small mistake can turn into a production nightmare. To wrap things up, the singleton is not evil, but it will punish you if you treat it like a shortcut instead of a tool. Use it when you absolutely need a single instance of a heavy resource, like a database connection or a global config, but keep long-running processes in mind, and never ever store user-specific state inside a singleton. In the next video, we'll dive into a pattern that's often confused with a singleton, but offers way more flexibility. Subscribe so you don't miss our breakdown of the factory pattern. Let me know in the comments, do you think the singleton is anti-pattern, or do you still use it in your production code? See you in the next one.